Make some few remarks. This is a very nostalgic moment for me. As you all very much aware, Honorable Haruna Iddrisu is a respected colleague who has inspired me in so many ways. On this occasion, and on this occasion only, the minority's position is that Dr. Adutwum shall take up the questions and then ask some few questions on our behalf. These are largely policy questions, and thereafter I will have some few bites, and then the nominee will most likely be discharged. We are reminding the majority that their well-behaved posture will lead to the fast-tracking of the nominee.
Honorable Adutwum, you have the floor.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I also have that kind of nostalgic feeling coming to Parliament and having our leader guiding, mentoring, and now leaving the Education Ministry, and he's about to take over. So it's a very interesting moment. Let me first of all congratulate you, Honorable Haruna, on your nomination for this very, very important ministry.
Thank you.
For our great nation, Ghana. Honorable Chair, I know Honorable has done some work at the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations. At that time, he superintended over TVET education for most of the TVET schools that are now under the Ministry of Education. Chair, I would like the nominee to share with us, beyond the manifesto commitments, what are some of the things that he's going to look out for in terms of the role of education in this fourth industrial revolution, 21st century. Education is very important. I want him to share with us what his ideas are and what are some of the things that he's going to be looking out for to ensure that we have a more robust education system. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. First Deputy Speaker and Chair of the committee, leadership of the committee, and Honorable Minority Leader, members of the Appointment Committee, and colleagues who have had opportunity to come and solidarize. It's my honor and privilege to respond to the question posed by the just past Minister for Education on what President Mahama and the NDC intend to do with the education sector. Let me assure the Honorable former Minister on what President Mahama and the NDC intend to do with the education sector. Let me assure the Honorable improve health and ensure gender inequality. President John Dramani Mahama intends to increase investment in the education sector to respond to the infrastructure deficits of the education sector, beginning from preschool through basic primary education to free secondary school and to the tertiary level. Enormous financial investment will be made to continue with major initiative that was done. Chair, fortunately for me, this is a sector which has the best of expertise. I intend to rely on their varied experiences and expertise to guide me in the formulation of policy, the improvement of policy. But Mr. Speaker, let me assure this committee that President John Dramani Mahama has no option to cancel free senior high school. Therefore, those who listened to him, even in the course of his campaign, to have stated that he will expand free senior high school to private schools was to tell Ghanaians that as President of the Republic, he wants to give true meaning to Article 25 of the 1992 Constitution and Article 38, which spells out the objectives of our educational policy. But Chair, the important thing is that he will subject the free senior high school to a review. The review will mean subjecting it to, one, there will be a stakeholder national education forum to discuss the future and state of education in Ghana, with emphasis on the future of the free senior high school, in particular, how to assure it of adequate, reliable, sustainable financing. Mr. Speaker, I do not want to, at this moment, stir controversy, but some of the numbers, Mr. Minister, as you may recall, I will validate some of the statistics to some statistical validation of those issues. So we will undertake a stakeholder forum which will involve donors and partners, involve academia, parents, and students to review the free senior high school program. I should acknowledge, as Pearl have noted, that it remains one of the boldest steps in wanting to transform education. It was a matter of debate between free universal education absorbing all the costs and progressively free, starting with infrastructure. But President Mahama intends to undertake a comprehensive review of it to make it sustainable. Thank you.
You have a further question?
Yes, of course, sir.
Yes.
Yeah,
let me indicate that we have two members, leadership of the subject matter committee, but the two of them will not ask questions. One will pose all the questions. Ahead with your question.
Honorable Chair, I'm grateful for the response from the nominee. Honorable Chair, beyond secondary education, which normally is the upper secondary, because by our statutes, we don't look at junior high as part of secondary. Beyond secondary education, I know there are a number of manifesto commitments in the field of tertiary, which is guaranteeing or is going to promise of fee-free level 100. If the nominee can shed some light on it, so that we'll be able to know what's going to happen in that area.
Thank you very much, Chair and members, and thank you, Honorable Minister. President Mahama and the NDC promise free tuition for students from level 100 who would undertake normal programs in the various public universities of our country, including what he has said, expanded to private tertiary institutions. They number a population for which the country will require about 345 million Ghana cedis. They number a population for which the country will require about 345 million Ghana cedis. But Chairman, the beauty of this is that it's open. Even parents who are still willing to pay can do so under this principle that has been introduced by the NDC. So we intend to mobilize with the Ministry of Finance some additional financing to cater for the population of students. It will be in the region of 125,000 as I look at it, and will provide 375 million Ghana cedis to support that. So every student who has paid will have a refund of his money, and the President intends to expand this over the years. Thank you.
Please proceed.
Honorable Chair, one of the areas that I will always be proud of as a former Minister for Education is the area of science, technology, engineering, mathematics education. Great progress has been made. Yes. And as measured...
Please address the chair.
Chair, great progress has been made. It has been validated. It has been validated around the world. STEM education in Ghana. I want to ask the nominee what plan his soon-to-be ministry is going to do about STEM education.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. Thank you, Honorable. The significant thing for the NDC and President Mahama, as far as education is concerned, is for us to contribute meaningful to our national sustainable development efforts. At the tertiary level, emphasis will be on access, quality, and relevance. At the secondary level, emphasis will be on foundational learning in order that we can produce critical thinkers for the future. There will be a review of pedagogy and curriculum at all levels of education to meet the country's aspirations into the future and for meaningful contribution to our national development effort. I should note the effort you have done in getting STEM. We intend to build, at least in every region of Ghana, a model STEM school, which will carry from kindergarten to senior high school to produce men for the future of work. We appreciate that going into the future, we need to train more people in science, information and communication technology, and engineering. In that respect, our universities will be expected to relate more to industry without compromising their core academic objective training models. Thank you, Chair.
Any further questions?
Yes, please. Honorable Chair, this House have had an opportunity to approve GetFund formula. We have all lamented about capping and debate about uncapping. I want to know the opinion of the nominee in the next budget coming up, what he intends to advocate for and push for in order to meet these aspirations of this House, which has been around for a long time. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you for the question. And for me, also nostalgic. Those days in 1997, I was one of the strong advocates with many of our colleagues around here to advocate for the establishment of the GetFund. Before then, tertiary education was largely public funded. Tuition remained free. There was no access even to private tertiary institutions. The Ghana Education Trust Fund has done its part. In the last few years, it has suffered because of the decision of then Minister of Finance to cap it. President Mahama and the Minister of Finance have gone public, and I join them in saying that we will uncap the GetFund to free additional resources to support robust infrastructure development. Indeed, mathematically, cap GetFund today is about $3.2 billion Ghana cedis, 3.2 billion Ghana cedis. And cap it to make available to the Ministry of Education some 7.9 billion, which will accelerate expanded infrastructure. For instance, there are about 2,800 schools that needs to be fixed to deal with the problems of overcrowding. There are about 26,000 schools which has no changing facility for young girls for purposes of hygiene. There are about 780 schools that is required to expand access to junior high school. We will uncap GetFund. I would engage the Minister for Finance to do this as a matter of expediency, and for the President to engage with the IMF to review the memorandum which included the GetFund in the negotiations. President Mahama have said that he will review the IMF. So part of the review will be to uncap the GetFund and free those additional resources to support the country to rely on GetFund resources to finance education generally in particular higher education.
Please proceed to ask the question.
Honorable Chair,
I'm coming to you.
in this great country, Ghana, the middle class has been squeezed for many years. Teachers, nurses have been squeezed, given the fact that majority of them have to find money to send their children to private school at the junior high school level especially, before then jumping into public schools at the senior high school level. Our public schools have gone into serious dilapidation for many years. And I'm happy that we began an effort to transform public schools. Public schools in rural areas have seen new facilities. Urban areas, new public schools have been built so that the middle class can find solace in our public schools. And I'm happy that at least in Greater Accra, you can see Accra STEM Academy.
Please, order, order. Honorable Yusuf, I do not want to mention your name again.
Again. So the public school transformation agenda is something that is very dear to the middle class. Honorable Chair, I want to ask my soon-to-be Minister for Education, what are his ideas and opinions about making sure that children, all children, have quality public schools to attend, and that if a parent doesn't have the resources, they will not go and look for a loan to send their children to private schools. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Chairman, our intervention in the education sector will be all-encompassing. We will give true meaning to the pursuit of free, compulsory, universal basic education. In my reading in the last few days, I have come to appreciate a major dichotomy which needs our urgent critical attention. Rural-urban dichotomy in the quality of education, northern-south dichotomy in the quality of education, and more deprived schools not producing because of quality of teachers and the presence of teachers in those areas. I intend, even when we assume office, to engage the Honorable Minister for Local Government as part of the financial realignment to get him to accept that teacher accommodation can be done by realigning common fund into building those for teachers in the rural areas. I do know that conditions of service generally for workers in the Ghanaian public sector is not the best. I had the privilege in the last few years to be Ghana's Minister for Employment. I did my utmost best to deal with some of the most incipient labor disputes of the country. But nonetheless, the cascading effect of what you do for the teacher, its economic and financial implications for the nurse, the pharmacist, the doctor, is what guides the purse. Therefore, what is in the kitty? We need to improve revenue mobilization generally. And in education, it will be appreciated if, and Parliament members are here, if we can dedicate 20% of national expenditure into education, or allocate at least a minimum of 5 to 6% of GDP to support education, then over a 10-year period, we would have done enough to expand and make these facilities available. At the basic level, and this was my concern, you haven't achieved free compulsory universal basic education, and you have up there a free senior high school education. You will still have in urban areas, Honorable former Minister and Chairman, in the urban areas, the out-of-school dropout, you see them. In the rural areas, you don't. That's the danger. We also have to be careful that we are not producing unemployed graduates from free senior high school who would become a threat to and unemployable. So that is why Minister hailed some of the TVET initiative, because we have to improve employability. And employability is better done through technical vocational training. We will expand access to all TVET institutions. I'm aware that some of your initiatives were 30, 20, 40%, because you didn't have money because you capped GetFund. You remember, I don't want the minority leader to look into my eye. So the uncapping didn't free resources for you to be able to expand those TVET institutions. President Mahama and the NDC will complete all those TVET institutions, given respect to the directive principles of state policy, that as president, he has a responsibility to the state to continue every good initiative of the previous government. I thank you.
Thank you. You have further question? Please go ahead. And I plead that that should be the last question.
The last one. Honorable Chair, I think there has been interesting debate about the issue of E-blocks. And E-blocks, we completed a number of them across the country. But the good news is that government is a continuum. And that is why, beyond completing E-blocks, we added boarding facilities to those that are in remote locations. Adansia Peja is an example. Edujama is an example. Drobonso is an example where we added boarding facilities so that the facilities will become useful to the people of Ghana. It's not about us. It's about the children. So I think beyond completing E-blocks that have not been completed, Honorable Nominee, Honorable Chair, would the Honorable Nominee look into the possibility of adding boarding facilities if an E-block is in a distant location and students cannot walk to the school, so they become more useful to the country? Thank you.
Chair, the government will have no difficulty at all accepting to work to add boarding facilities where it's necessary. My own personal experience during the campaign was a day I was driving from Yendi towards Miang, and you see a major E facility on the Miang Road. I saw school girls and boys walking the street from Yendi Kulkwin walking towards that area. That reminded me that if there's any opportunity to add a boarding facility to that, we should do that. And then also in Cherpune and also in Wulesi on the same road, I saw a facility where many of the catchment communities needed that. We would have no difficulty expanding boarding facilities where necessary. Ours is to expand access, ensure relevance and quality delivery by improving the conditions of service of teachers to the best that the economy can do, and to improve their quality through motivation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Chair, thank you. Honorable Yusuf, you may have the floor.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chairman. And first of all, let me congratulate my senior brother, Honorable Iddrisu Haruna, for this nomination. And also just to put it on the record that we are very proud of you, especially with the young politicians from the North. And you serve as inspiration to us from your days as the student leader all the way to your parliamentary responsibility, from being a Minister of Communication, Minister of Employment, and now Trade, and also this thing. My question to you, Honorable Nominee, one of the biggest challenges in our educational sector is the high drop rate of at the basic level. And according to the African Education Watch, in the northern region, only 5 out of 10 students who enroll in KG are able to complete primary school. And after that, only 3 are able to complete JSS. Being the first Minister for Education from the northern sector of our country, in the Fourth Republic. What will you do to ensure that we address this issue that the Ghana Education Watch have just identified? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman and members. And colleague, thanks for those warm compliments. It's important again to recognize that as a country, there is the Northern-South divide when it comes to access to education, beginning from 1876, when the first school was established. And subsequently in the North, we got ours around 1951. So you can imagine the gap and the deficit. Even Achimota School around 1924, at the time that Tamale Secondary School, which became the first in the North, we will work to close that gap. Indeed, even for the implementation of the free senior high school, it is noted that participation rate is very high in northern Ghana. That explains that probably it is true that poverty was a problem to accessing quality education. So it's quality, equality, and equity. I also note that there's about 5,000 infrastructure deficit when it comes to provision of junior high school, basic schools, and secondary schools in northern Ghana, and also in Oti and western North. The statistics is not too encouraging for them. The urban concept, many in this area have taken full advantage of it. With the rare privilege of the President entrusting me as his Minister for Education, I will work towards equity and improve quality to education at all levels of our country. I would endeavor to close that gap, recognizing that I may have to do some affirmative action interventions to get it going, to correct some of the historical imbalances that are responsible for the deficit. I thank you.
Thank you very much. It's now the turn of Honorable Roxanne Nelson.
Chairman, thank you very much. Leader, you are welcome.
Thank you, Honorable.
Yet you are moving to your fourth ministry, from communications to trade to labor and employment, or employment and labor, and now education. I'm sure something bigger will follow this. You are welcome. Let me say that the dexterity with which you answer your questions